back, everyone, to The Shift. We're so glad you're here with us today. This Thursday, a week before Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas. And yeah, we're just so excited to dive into this topic today. We're just going to give just a few, just like an extra 60 seconds here just to make sure, we're going live in all the places. And if you are here live, we'd love to, just say hi, give us a wave, tell us where you're tuning in from. We'd love to connect with all of you. So, how are you feeling today, Kate?
Thank you for asking. I'm like, I just need a moment to check in with myself. I handed off my 16-month-old to my husband so that I could be here with all of you. And it's been a busy morning, lots of movement. I'm feeling good. You know, it's interesting. I had a session with my own practitioner last night, and going into that session, I was feeling, just a lot of like stagnation, a lot of like stagnant energy. And I think it's a lot to do with, I hurt my back about a week ago, which Laura, I know you know about that. And it's just felt without being able to move in ways that I'm used to moving. My nervous system was feeling, just a little stuck, and was feeling really grateful that I had that time yesterday evening just to really support my own body. And this time of year can be so interesting, right? Like I've been feeling this year, and maybe it's just because I have a toddler now, but I've just been reflecting on like, like what the holidays were like growing up, what they're like now. And they're just very different because we, growing up, like we lived in the same place that like my whole family lived. So there was just so many people to connect with. And we've had a lot of guests visiting us in Austin where we live now. But for actual Christmas, it'll just be my husband and my son and I. And so it's just, it's like, I find my nervous system has been like very nostalgic for, traditions and things that we did growing up that, not that we can't try to recreate those and make those our own, but it's just different. And so there's been like a lot of emotions coming up, and just trying to like pause and notice those amidst taking care of a really active toddler and getting ready for the holidays. So thanks for checking in. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like so many of you could probably relate a little bit to what Kate is sharing right now. I know for those of you, like based here, maybe in the US, right? We have 50 states, like some of you might live in one state family and all these other states, right? So we don't always all get to be under one roof during the holidays. For some of you, that might actually feel good to have some space. Our nervous systems also sometimes need that space as well. And just that alone time, so again, everyone's experience might be a little different, but I love how you're sharing, Kate, before we get into today's topic, just being able to hold more than one experience, right? So I know on the one hand, you're really looking forward to like the holidays with like your 16-month-old, your husband, in your beautiful home in Austin, and just, the magic of this season. And also just really being able to hold like some of maybe the sadness, or just like you said, the nostalgia of like how this Christmas or this holiday season is different than previous ones. So that shows, just quite a bit of capacity there in your own system to be able to hold more than one experience and not make it wrong or bad, or even not trying to go in and fix it.
Yeah. Thank you for that reflection, Laura. It's so spot on. And I feel like really relevant to today's topic, which I'm really excited for us to get into.
Yeah, no, it's actually perfect. I love it. So I thought we would just, we'll just take 30 seconds actually just to land here. And then we'll definitely kind of start to, chat about today's topic. So we're going to do something really simple together for the next like 30 to 40 seconds here. So maybe just taking 5 seconds first, just bring some awareness to the position of your body. In nervous system work, it's usually the simplest things first. So are you in a seated position right now as you're watching Kate and I, or maybe you're listening to this live stream? And just noticing, how do you know you're in a seated position? So do you feel your feet on the floor? Do you notice like your sit bones in the chair? Or even just like how your eyes are positioned, like you're a little bit lower than if you were standing right now, like what your field of vision is here in this position. Yeah. Or maybe you're standing right now. Maybe you're on a walk. So maybe you're moving your body. So maybe just noticing if your arms are swinging, or you just feel that movement in your legs. Yeah. Beautiful. And then we're just going to do a little bit of movement together. So I'd love to invite you just to make a small turn now to the left. We're just going to make a small rotation over to the left. And I'd love to invite you just to tilt your nose slightly down towards your left shoulder, like your left armpit. So you're going to feel like right here in the right side of the back of the neck, like this stretch. Yeah, and you're welcome to look down, just have a soft gaze, or you can close the eyes, whatever feels best for you right now. Yeah, we're going to be here for just about 15 seconds. We can hold a lot of tension in our neck and in our shoulders from, just being on our phones, computers, moving about the day. Holiday season can be very busy. And this is just like really nicely signaling safety to your system, as well as, just expanding your lungs, giving your lungs like a little gentle stretch. So there's like an easier breath to come through. Yeah, and you might even start to notice like a deeper breath or an exhale. Beautiful. So we're going to slowly begin to move out. So just take your time here as you lift the nose away from the left armpit and shoulder. And then you're going to begin the rotation and come back. Nice. Just take a quick little pause here. Let that integrate for just a few seconds. Yeah. Beautiful. And then just start to bring some attention to your right side. So right shoulder, right arm. And then we're going to begin the rotation to the right now, just really slowly here. And then same thing we did on the left. You're just going to gently tilt the nose slightly down, only going as far, again, as it feels comfortable for you. So if you are experiencing any neck or shoulder pain right now, just be really gentle here. So again, there's no need to push through anything. And we're going to be here for, just roughly 15, 20 seconds. With a soft gaze, or maybe closing your eyes and just getting, that stretch here now on the left side. And you're just noticing here, you're just even noticing like how this side might feel slightly different than the left side. Maybe like one side is a little more open, a little more spacious today than the other. Maybe one's a little more crunchy. Yeah, last 5 seconds here. Beautiful. So we're going to slowly begin to move out. So just taking your time, lifting your nose away from the right shoulder, and then slowly rotating the head and coming back to center. And just taking maybe another few seconds here just to let that land. And even just notice, like, did I maybe take a slightly deeper breath? Maybe you're yawning or you're sighing, or I know for me, I swallowed a bunch. So I felt that reset. How are you feeling, Kate?
Yeah. I noticed a lot of saliva building up in my mouth, which that can be a sign for those of you tuning in or watching the replay. Yeah, that there's more capacity, more safety, and what we call that ventral vagal energy coming in. So I noticed that. And it's interesting, right? Like this work, it helps us connect with our aliveness. And then we've been talking a lot about that, how like the goal of this work isn't necessarily to feel good and calm all the time. And since I've been having some low back pain and sitting doesn't always feel the best right now. And so as I was doing, especially on the right side, which is kind of where a lot of that low back pain is for me, I was feeling some of that sensation. But instead of trying to like fix it or shift or get rid of it, I was like, okay, like, just notice it and be with it without having to try to like
manage
push it under the rug or get it to stop, so to speak. So I was noticing that today.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing that, Kate. Yeah, that makes so much sense with that. Just some of that pain you've been noticing on that right side. But I'm also glad to know that like today, just making that turn, like you were able to be with it. It wasn't like too overwhelming. And you really felt like you had the capacity to be with that activation. That's beautiful. Yeah. So today we want to talk to you about the capacity gap. Why high achieving coaches or leaders, right, feel behind even when they're doing everything right, even when you're doing everything right. And so Kate and I are really passionate about this topic because I feel like we know it's a topic that doesn't always get talked about a lot. So we're going to shed some light on what this actually means, what this actually looks like for you today. And of course, like we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback along the way. So I want to just begin by prefacing here that every week, Kate and I talk to women who are brilliant. They're deeply trained. They're devoted to their work. And yet they're exhausted by the gap between who they know they are and how they're actually showing up. So they say things like, I don't understand why this feels harder than it should. I had the skills. Why does my body feel like it can't keep up? I'm doing everything right. Why do I feel so behind? So before we go any further, I just want to pause there and just have you notice if any of those landed in your own body, in your own system. And again, just no fixing here, just noticing. Maybe one of those like really just stood out to you that I just named. And I do want to name this clearly that this is not a mindset issue. This is not a strategy issue. This is not a discipline issue. It's a nervous system capacity issue. So what we're diving into today is all about capacity. Yeah. What are you noticing, Kate, just as I shared that? I'm curious, anything come up for you?
Yeah. It's interesting. My nervous system tends to respond with like these little micro movements. Sometimes like you can't even notice it if you're looking at me, unless you're looking really, really close. But I was feeling a lot of like movement in my face and in my head and even in my hands, which, a lot of you weren't able to see right there. But yeah, and it's interesting because, right, a lot of times our mind wants to like understand something conceptually. It wants to understand something intellectually and like cognitively and rationally. And that part of our mind is so beautiful and we need that part of ourselves. But so much of this work is connecting to things that speak a different language. Our nervous system doesn't speak in English. It speaks in sensation. It speaks in movement. Sometimes it speaks in symbols or colors or things that maybe like just don't make logical sense, or they don't make, there's not like a linear story there. So for me, just as you were sharing that, it was less about like assigning mental meaning to it or having this like clear thought or message that came through, and more just like noticing how my body was responding and like these little movements that were online. And I know from my own journey that, so much of my own journey in business with my clients, just in my life, has been about kind of unlearning a lot of things and unlearning some of that like more rigid mindset work, unlearning just patterns of like when I would kind of jump to strategy or trying to fix things, and kind of just unlearning those patterns and meeting those parts of me with a lot of compassion, because they're there for really wise reasons, rooted in protection. But just like really making space to notice and observe with neutrality. We talk a lot about that with our students, right? Like that neutral engagement, like just being able to observe something, not trying to like assign meaning or analyze it. And so that's what I was just noticing, like as you were naming the nervous system capacity issue versus the strategy and mindset, that we see so many women and coaches and practitioners like getting caught up in the strategy and mindset work. And not that it's not important and doesn't have a place, but it's like 10 to 20% strategy and mindset, and like the other 80 and 90 is the nervous system.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Kate, so well said. And I loved how you noticed that. Maybe for some of you, maybe you relate, like as I was sharing those, there was just a sensation that you experienced. There was a temperature change, like you noticed more heat, or you started to notice like your head nodding, or like your body was leaning forward or back, right? And maybe for some of you, you actually did have more thoughts around like, oh yeah, that's me. And like there was more of a story with it. And so again, just as we're doing these shift calls, we always just invite you to just notice what your own experience is within your own system as we're sharing these. So last week we talked about something really important, which is activation isn't bad. And this is what we've been talking about even today, like noticing like, oh, maybe I feel like something kind of buzzy, or I'm noticing certain thoughts coming in, or maybe I'm noticing a certain sensation that doesn't feel comfortable or not something I necessarily love. That's a form of activation, right? So activation isn't bad. That's what we talked about last week. And drive isn't bad. I know for many of you as leaders, you have a lot of drive, you have a lot of ambition. Intensity isn't bad. I think sometimes too, like when we've been really driven for a long time, we've brought a lot of intensity to our leadership positions, whether you own your own business or you work in a company or even as a mom, that, if it at one point led to burnout, right, then our system then can start to equate that intensity or that drive with, oh, we can't go there again, right? Like we don't want that same thing to happen. And so what we want to talk about today and go deeper into is this aspect of, just helping to reframe a little bit in your own system, or this experience of the drive isn't bad, the intensity isn't bad. Wanting more growth, more impact, more leadership is not dysregulation. And I want to just pause there. If that reframe for you is helpful, even this moment, or even last week, if you tuned in, I'd love for you to drop a yes or maybe a heart in the chat. Even if you're watching the replay, just say, yeah, that reframe. Yeah, that's like really, that's landing for me. That's really helpful, that like wanting more growth, more impact or leadership is not dysregulation. And that activation is not bad. Yeah. So again, the issue isn't activation. The issue is whether your nervous system has the capacity to stay with the activation without collapsing, without armoring, or regulating itself out of power. So today we want to just gently shift the lens from, we want to like shift the lens that many high achievers maybe have been using. Maybe some of this is what you might also relate to. And I think this is where a lot of high performers even get kind of tripped up, particularly in the nervous system world, now this is becoming a little bit more common, which is many of you have been maybe taught to ask, how do I calm down? How do I regulate this away? How do I just like feel like I'm more I want to say at peace, but like, how do I feel more calm and how do I regulate this away? I feel like those are the two main kind of like questions that we hear and get really built up in this world. And so instead of asking, how do I build the capacity to hold the activation without losing myself? So really that's the question we need to be asking is, how do I build the capacity to hold the activation without losing myself? Yeah, so I want to just pause there. Kate, anything coming up for you as I name some of those things? Maybe there's like another question too that we've been like taught to ask besides how do I calm down and how do I regulate this away?
Well, I'm just even thinking about like when I was in coaching sessions as a coach, before I got trained in somatics and nervous system work, the things that we teach our neurosomatic students to do and to like really train them in. And equip them with for their own clients. I just remember always feeling like, oh, I just feel like there's something missing here. Like, I feel like I'm getting my clients to a certain point, and I'm using all these like NLP tools and mindset reframes and strategy and all the things, but it just feels like something's not quite clicking into place. Like for those of you that maybe have ever had that feeling like where something just kind of clicked into place? And it doesn't have to even be related to your coaching practice or your business or, what you do as a leader, but it's just that like sensation of like, oh yeah, here we go. Like there's momentum here. And I would just find myself in a place. And then even when I got the training, like in the early days where it's like, I always felt like I always wanted clients to have this like big breakthrough moment where they left a client session feeling like, oh, so good. And, so like all the things that we would normally categorize as like a positive experience. But again, the real goal of this work, and especially as we like equip ourselves to do this work with our clients, is that it's not always going to feel pleasant. It's not always going to be this like massive positive breakthrough in a maybe like on paper traditional sense. And the more that we can the more that we do this work and learn and develop the skill and the capacity, it's like we almost get to a point, and again, it's not from this like perfectionism place, but we get to this point where like no matter what comes up for ourselves or even in a client session, like we can hold that. because our nervous system has that capacity to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is, of course, a discernment of like maybe when this person needs to be referred to someone else. And it's like maybe a little bit outside of our scope of practice. So it doesn't mean that we're like doing things that aren't in our scope.
Right.
But it does mean that like whatever comes up, like I can meet that. And I don't have to like overly prepare or like overly script things out. Where it's like, yeah, before I was at that place, like so much, it just always felt like hustle.
Yeah.
Even when I thought I was like unwinding the hustle, if I'm really being honest with myself, there was still so much hustle present.
Yeah.
And so it's like shifting from that energy and place to, just like a really trusting place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, so many good nuggets you just shared there, Kate. And if anything that Kate is sharing right now, we'd love to hear from you. That's like maybe really landing like, oh my gosh, yes, like I'm a coach and I still experience this in my sessions where like I want my client to have the big breakthrough, or I want them to feel calm at the end of our session. And if I'm not seeing that in the, I start to feel like a lot of activation within my own system, right? Like I'm doing something wrong, or like, again, like something needs to shift or change like right away. It's almost like there's like a little bit of like anxiousness to the feeling, right? And so, I love this topic so much. So I want to just take a moment here and kind of break it down just a little bit more in terms of like what this like actually looks like a little bit more in terms of like making it more concrete as to how this can show up. And so, and again, as I'm talking about this, I want to invite you just to notice like what's happening in your own system, your own body, or maybe your own thoughts as I share some of this. And again, like I will also invite you to just bring curiosity here. It's not about shaming ourselves or like making ourselves wrong or bad here if you are recognizing some of this. So as we were preparing for this live, I was just sort of like thinking to like some of the clients that I've had, and even like some of the, like my own personal experiences. Like Kate's been reflecting a lot today on her own personal experiences as a coach and a leader. And one of the things is that definitely has come up for me and a lot of my clients is this like waking up already thinking about work. How many of us experience that? Yeah, right. And again, not always necessarily anxious, but on, like you're just on, like the minute your eyes open, it's like you're on, right? And maybe like your mind it's running with different thoughts. Like maybe I should post today. I need to follow up on that conversation. I know exactly what I want to say. Why haven't I said it yet? Right. And maybe nothing necessarily feels urgent, but nothing feels fully settled. Yeah. And then maybe behaviorally, this can also show up like things like opening up like your laptop and then checking your phone instead, right? Or rewriting the same post 3 times and never publishing it, or delaying a pitch or a price increase because even though you're ready for it, but you're like still delaying it, right? You're sending that proposal or sending, that price increase, or avoiding visibility when traction begins. Like maybe you're starting to get a lot of traction in your business, and all of a sudden, or you're in your leadership role and you find yourself kind of like pulling back, feeling relief, like when a client cancels or a meeting gets canceled, and then judging yourself for that relief. I that was one for me for a while. It was like, I would feel relief, not because I didn't want to see the client, but it was like my system was like, oh, good, I have some spaciousness now. I have some time, right? And but then there was a part of me that would judge myself for that relief that I was feeling, right? So I want to just name here, like, this is not like laziness. This is not about being unclear. Like, these are all things that I'm describing right now, and these are just some of the things. It's like your system just doesn't have enough room to hold what's next. This is what we mean by capacity. So this is not like full on, like maybe dysregulation, but there is an element of, these are signs here of like capacity needs to be increased here.
Can I add one really quick?
Yeah, please, Kate.
I found myself getting majorly caught in this pattern, and I see it a lot with clients I've worked with, both in corporate and my female entrepreneur clients, is like swinging from ambition, like full-fledged fire and desire, to burnout.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Having to like heal and bounce back from the burnout, and then kind of swinging back over to that side again. You're pushing a lot because now you feel better, you have more energy, but then you find yourself burned out again. And it's like that cycle just continues. So that's another big one that we see.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thanks so much for naming that one, Kate. 100%. We do see that kind of that pendulum swinging like back and forth there, which that's a whole other kind of topic we can get into in regards to like the nervous system and some of those patterns that happen. But yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a sign. And the last thing I'll just kind of name here too with this is like, so oftentimes when some of this is happening for yourself or maybe like even a client, right, is like sometimes maybe then you tell yourself, I just need to regulate more. I just need to regulate more. Like I don't want to push, but underneath, right, there's still frustration. There's like this, maybe this quiet fear. What if this is my ceiling, right? Like maybe this is as far as I can go. And again, so this is all capacity gap is what we're naming here today. So we wanted to just give you some concrete examples, like what this can look, sound, yeah, or feel like, right? So I want to just offer just one question here, just like as I was naming some of that, and even as Kate was referencing the pendulum swing here, the ambition and then the burnout, just drop a yes or a no here in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, just like, does any of that resonate? Even just in a subtle way, even just by like 1%, like, oh yes, I've definitely experienced that, or I'm still experiencing it. Just taking a moment just to acknowledge it. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And again, just like no fixing here, just noticing. And the other thing I want to name here too is that feeling, a lot of you that I speak to, whether it's here on Instagram or it's in our community within neurosomatics or my one-to-one clients, I hear a lot of my clients, particularly I think this time of year too, I feel like it happens all year, but particularly I feel like it gets highlighted even more this time of year. And as we get into the new year, which is feeling behind, this constant feeling of being behind. And I want to just name too that feeling behind isn't a failure of discipline or desire. It's often a signal that your nervous system is ready for more capacity, not less ambition. So I'll just let that land for you. You can take that away as like something and you can put in your pocket as you move throughout the holiday season and even into the new year. Sometimes we have all this like, okay, it's a new year, like we got to go full force here. And like, but even like it's January 1st hits and we're already like feeling the sense of like, I'm behind, and so I just want to name that's not a discipline or desire issue. This is a nervous system capacity and it's not about less ambition, right? It's just a signal that your system needs more capacity.
Yeah. I always think like your nervous system isn't broken.
Yeah.
It's just being asked to do something that it hasn't been trained to do yet, because we don't train humans. There's no like kind of standard mainstream curriculum where humans learn this unless you seek it out. And this is exactly why Laura and I created the programs that we did. But yeah, just if you resonate with a lot of the patterns and behaviors or tendencies that Laura and I named today, just remember like your nervous system isn't broken. It's just being asked to do something that you're trained to do just yet.
Yeah. Oh, so well said, Kate. And one last thing I'll share here too, like speaking of neurosomatics, which I love that we've done for our students in the program, is like, we don't have, obviously this work is not formulaic. There's no formula like we've been talking about, like, okay, start step one, like, this leads to this next piece, right? And it's all very formulaic, but there is a certain hierarchy. There is a framework that, like a structure basically that you can work with when it comes to capacity building. And this is something that we very intentionally take our students through a proprietary method that Kate and I have developed. So there is like some structure and containment to this process. And we have seen some incredible things happen in regards to the students that go through the program, in regards to growth in their business and their leadership and visibility and impact and all the things because of this framework that we took them through and this ability to increase their capacity within their system and not be afraid of the activation. In fact, really being able to be with it. And last thing I'll say too is that if you are a business owner and you're somebody that wants to grow your impact and your income, there's gonna be activation that's gonna come with that, like we talked about even in our last shift call, right? So we definitely are gonna need a certain amount of capacity for that activation and for that growth, and that's what we take you through in neurosomatics is that a very specific proprietary framework for getting you more of that capacity. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Kate, as we begin to wrap up today's?
Yeah. Well, I guess just closing thoughts and just an invitation that I'd love to share with everyone that's tuning in here, whether you're here live or you're watching the recording, maybe you're watching this over the holidays and you are noticing a lot of activation because you're around family or just things are being brought up. Now that you have maybe some space from maybe you're taking the week off or whatever, just start to kind of notice your inner capacity, zone of capacity in our programs. Like, if my capacity was like a zone right now, like where would it be? Would it be here? Would it be here? Would it be here? And again, without judging or making it wrong or bad, but just like noticing where not only your capacity is, but maybe where you try to control or force, or where maybe you even flatten or shut down or collapse.
Yeah.
And just kind of getting curious around that. Just as you move about, like the last few weeks of the year, because we know that capacity isn't like this work really isn't optional. It's really the threshold for your next level.
Yeah.
It's the threshold for where you're going next and where you're being called to go next. And so, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to reach out, share in the comments, like we would just love to hear what's coming up for you as you get curious about how this has been showing up in your own life, in your own business, in your own practice with your own clients. Of course, we'll be off next week for the shift on Thursday for Christmas. And so for all of you that celebrate, we hope you have a really beautiful holiday. And we're going to plan to be back on the 29th, which is Monday, to support you with a special episode just as we close out the new year. New Year's Day falls on Thursday. So we're going to meet on Monday. But of course, this will be recorded, so you'll be able to tune in whenever you're available. And then one quick announcement that I wanted to just finish off with is we are offering a special early bird enrollment if you enroll in neurosomatics before December 31st of this year. And you'll receive $1,000 off of your program enrollment tuition when you secure your spot before the end of the year. And we'll be going live with the program around late March for our spring cohort. It is the only time that we're running the program in 2026. So if it's been on your heart or on your mind to participate in the program and join our community, just know that offer is available to you before the end of the year.
Amazing. Yes, we're so excited for those of you that will be joining us for the spring cohort. And we're wishing you all just a wonderful holiday season. We look forward to seeing those of you who can join us live on Monday, the 29th, or just catch the replay. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day and your week.
All right. Bye for now.